Hey all, and welcome back to Fuzzy Ducks Gaming and the full run through for the League Start testing for Reign of Arrows Champion. Now, just a quick preamble. This is not a League Start guide, so if you've come looking for a 322 League Start guide maybe 3 weeks in the future, this isn't it, but if it survives patch notes, there'll be a full guide. Please don't use this as a League Start guide. This is me testing for alternatives for Reign of Arrows Raider, just in case Raider gets tweaked. And I also wanted to give it a go because I think looking at what you get from Champion, it's potentially even better than Raider as a League starter. So let's jump into how I leveled the character, what I did, and the conclusion and results. So this was done on a fresh SSF account. So no access to trade, no currency, no nothing. It's done as a League start scenario. As with most bow builds, you level with precise technique. I think Reign of Arrows also benefits really well from point blank if you're someone who likes to get nice and close. If you're someone who wants to go on the edge of the screen and range enemies, then obviously don't take point blank. And then from there, you just take in as many damage and life nodes as you can, along with accuracy and resistances. It does feel a little bit sluggish up till you get your first ascendancy because the only speed we really have is onslaught on kill, and the first few acts are not packed with enemies, so it can feel a bit of a chore. Once you get your first lab and you take first to strike, last to fall, you can then put a couple of gem links in to make sure you permanently proc adrenaline. Then that combined with onslaught and kill is absolutely insane for movement speed along with your Quicksilver Flask. It also gives you lots more attack speed, attack damage, and reduced physical damage taken. I was very unlucky on my playthrough. I was slow to get a 3 link. I was slow to get a 4 link. I was running my Act 2 bow through to Act 7 or 8. Just missed and just left me with still terrible bows. I eventually got a really, really good bow in Act 8 or 9, and that saw me through to mid-tier yellow maps. In terms of performance, it's super, super tanky. I did take 1 death in Act 1 because I teleported into a bunch of mobs trying to take a shortcut and I couldn't get out of them because I didn't have phasing and they killed me. Outside of that, there were no deaths in the campaign. I leveled up to 89 and completed Exarch in 12.5 hours. And up to that point, I had 8 deaths. And then I pushed on to get my Atlas completion, which took 16.5 hours. Mainly because I've ran out of Varlobs, ran out of currency, ran out of maps, so I had to go and do things like heist, more expedition and things like that to get my currency back up. But we ended on level 91, 92, which was really nice, and in total it was 9 deaths for the playthrough. Now in terms of performance, this far outperformed my expectations. On a 5-link precise technique, I had a half decent bow. I think it was like 550 LE DPS, no crit chance. Pretty bad gear all round and a half decent quiver. I did Exarch and I did most of my Atlas completion on that setup. It wasn't necessarily smooth when you're going for the corrupted red maps, but to get away with only 9 deaths from doing all of your normal Atlas completion, I think is really, really good. Then with about 20 maps left to go, I finally hit the essence on the bow that allowed me to craft crit onto it with keeping elemental damage. I already have a quiver lined up from using essences that I could switch to with crit. And then I rejig my whole tree, get away from precise technique, go to crit, and I pretty much added 50-60% more damage from doing that. It's something in trade I would have liked to have done, or would have done much earlier, but in SSF, I can only use the materials that I drop, and I wouldn't say unlucky, I just didn't hit with any of the essences on my bow. Once I did hit, I then had all my regrets saved up and I was ready to switch to crit, and it was at level 90 that I did that, and then it felt much more smooth. We did a Shaper Guardian, because we actually used that T60 map to get the invitation to drop for our first Eater encounter. And overall, really, really enjoyed the build. It is a lot tankier than a Raider. It is a tiny bit more clunky because with Raider, you get lots of attack speed through your Frenzy Charge bonuses, and you can just get Adrenaline and Onslaught from the Tanu Ahi gloves, and it's obviously much easier to get Spell Suppression and Ailment Immune. However, with some of the new masteries they put in this league, you can get to 95% spell suppression without any gear on a champion. And that's ample enough for a softcore environment. Getting Ailment Immune is harder unless you want to run Purity of Elements, but then you're giving up the damage aura, which is quite a big deal. So I ended up going with the Pantheon where you cannot be frozen. And then I crafted Reduced Effective Chill on a ring, and that was it. I just put up with Shock and Ignite. You could, for your Minor Pantheon, go 60% less effective Shock. And then you're kind of mitigating most of the dangerous ailments. You can still get chilled, obviously, for 10 to 15%, but it feels much better than getting chilled for like 25 to 30. The frustrating thing for me is that some of these Pantheons are locked behind fairly high tier maps. I think the Cannot Be Frozen is tier 6 or 7, and Reduced Chill Effect is tier 16. So it would be nice if they were a little bit lower to give us a more comfortable level of experience, but it is what it is. In terms of budget on Trade League, I had gear that I would say was worth about 30 chaos at League Start, and I could have comfortably cleared the Atlas with it. I did transition to crit eventually, which might then cost you maybe an extra divine. I didn't have quality gems. I didn't have any uniques or any unique jewels or any jewels whatsoever, and it was really, really cozy. Now, I have recorded everything up to the point where I killed Eta and Exarch. So if you're interested in seeing full VODs, then let me know. But warning, I am moaning a lot of the time, talking to myself, trying to go through my thought process. But I do get a bit tilted when I get like horrible map mods or my game glitches, which has happened quite a lot with the last update. So bear in mind, there might be a swear word or two in there. So I'll go on to explain adrenaline and how to proc it in a moment, because that's really the only part of the build that's the slightest bit complicated. The rest is just bog standard, run around, fire your rain of arrows, drop your blisters, use your flask, just standard build stuff. So I don't have a level in POB and I didn't have an act by act POB ready for myself. I just had a rough idea of where I wanted to go. So this takes us up to level 54. So Art of the Gladiator is first point of call. It's nice attack speed, accuracy, and we get a bit of movement speed because we can ignore the armor penalty for movement speed, projectile speed and projectile damage, and then bravery. I'm then going across and getting Avatar of the Hun. These nodes are nice. They give us phasing on kill, attack speed, damage, movement speed. Really, really nice nodes. We need to get some damage from somewhere because I'm used to being a raider where you get an absolute ton of projectile damage early on. As a duelist, we do have access to bow nodes. They're not quite as good and they're not quite as early, but overall you can still get really decent damage with bows. Once I've got those nodes, I'm then going to more bow damage, accuracy, and then this mastery here that gives us increase in damage based on projectile speed. At that point, if my accuracy is way above my life, I'm taking precise technique. If it's not, I'm going to go to Weathered Hunter for accuracy and Ellie Res. And then this accuracy mastery plus 500 and -2 per level is just huge. Once you proc this in and you've got your accuracy here and you've got these nodes here, you're probably going to have like 1800 to 2000 accuracy and your life's going to be about 800. Then I'm taking point blank. If you don't like point blank, don't take it. If you're the sort of range player that plays range, point blank is going to be bad for you. If you're always on top of bosses, point blank is going to be massive. Then just going to take a couple of life nodes and 50 life just to shore us up a little bit. I'm going to take in long shot, mainly for the projectile speed and projectile damage. The actual long shot aspect does very little for us. And then I'm taking onslaught on kill ready for adrenaline and lab so we can, just run super, super quick through the campaign. At some point, you want to just come and get this leech node here, but if you don't do a lot of damage, you won't leech anything. So wait until you've got, a half decent bow and you're doing actual damage to bosses. Then you can take this and it means you don't have to rely on your mana flask. Then we're going up to finesse and then you can go whichever way you want after this. I went and got movement speed first and suppression. Then I went and got LE damage and resistances. Then I went through to life and took skills cost life instead of mana to make it a bit more comfortable. Went through life here and then back down here for strength in and mana. You're probably going to want some mana somewhere to make sure that you're not really, really short on mana when you've got two 50% auras reserved. Then it is aspect of the eagle and then over to aspect of the lynx. This takes you to sort of end of act 6, beginning of act 7. It's up to you which way you want to go from here. But essentially the nodes you're aiming for are charisma. So you should now be able to run anger and grace or determination, whichever one you wanted to run. Then we're going to go and get forces of nature for big LE damage and LE pen. And then this massive mastery here that inverts the LE resistances. This takes us to 61. So this would be sort of act 9-ish, depending on how quickly you run through. We're then going to go down here. And we're going to take chance to freeze and chance to shock along with more LE damage. You're going to fill out your leech nodes here and then get instant leech. And this takes you to level 67, which is realistically going to be the end of the campaign. From here, there's only a couple of things you might want to do to swap things out. You probably want to go here. And then it means you can get rid of these two nodes here. It frees up a point. Then I like these nodes better than Weathered Hunter. So if you don't need the elemental resistances, I would move all your accuracy stuff over here. So let's just take the dex one and then we can remove that. These nodes you're going to get rid of, but I'd probably wait till non-crit, because one point joins us up and then we can free up all of these points. But when we're non-crit, we kind of run out of points anyway, so you might as well keep these ones in. If you do start to get close to your accuracy, you've got 100 accuracy per green socket. So this takes us to level 67. We're now going to go and get suppression here, along with the spell suppresses lucky. And we are going to take these nodes here and then take 15% suppression if we've got evasion on all our gear. And you should be aiming for armor evasion gear. And then that takes you to level 75. And then it's a case of just getting life and damage. So we can fill out life here. We can fill out life here. We can take this node here. We can maybe take some damage here with increased damage based on our auras. And then what I would do if you're still going precise technique is actually come and get an extra ballista and an extra placement speed. Gives you 5 artillery ballistas on bosses. That's pretty big. We're going to be generating frenzy charges from Manifold's arrows. So if you still have points to take, you can take a frenzy charge. And then from here, there's not really much damage you can get. So this is the point you 100% want to be swapping to crit. So what we'll do now is just pull up my POB for when I killed Exarch, and then a POB for when I finished the whole thing. And then we'll go through those. And it's important to note how bad the sheet DPS is. And this is with flasks up. If we take flasks off, my damage apparently on pinnacle bosses is 91,000. But this is per arrow. And obviously the DPS wasn't rapid. I wasn't melting him. But as a champion, we've got pretty good defenses. As I said, I once on Exarch to the ball phase and once on Eater because I missed one of the puddles and I just couldn't find it again. And he screen wiped, did his insta-kill attack. But it felt pretty comfortable, and I was obviously pushing corrupted T16 maps at this point as well. And when you get horrible map mods, I don't feel great, but I was on a very basic 5-link non-crit setup. So the bow I had was this one here. Ignore the crit chance because you don't do crit. I just rolled this with lightning essences until it hit something that was half decent. And the attack speed, when it rolled, this was definitely a bow to keep going until we go crit. The quiver was just not that great. Flat damage, projectile speed, and damage with bows. And everything else is absolute junk. I'm not even going to embarrass myself by going through these items. In terms of your skill setup, it's 5-link, Rain of Arrows, Inspiration, Mirage Archer, Trinity, and Ellie damage with attacks. Vile Rain of Arrows, I would definitely get a Vile version. It's really, really good. It maims, really, really slows the enemies down. You get 2 charges, and each charge fires 33 arrows and additional sequences. It's actually a big, big increase of damage on bosses. It probably doubles your boss DPS. If you had a 6-link non-crit, it's up to you what you add in here. You could do added cold, would probably be the best gem, or even if you had the intelligence, you know, added lightning, one of those two would be decent. We've got precision, which I wasn't really using. It's just in case you need a little bit of accuracy. Defiance banner is free. Then we've got mark on hit, sniper's mark. I was running determination instead of grace once I had the strength to do so. Frenzy, inspiration, manifold arrows to generate frenzy charges. Anger is our main damage aura. Then the corrupting fever setup, which we'll go through in a sec to make sure that we proc adrenaline. And then just a movement skill and then a 4-link artillery ballista. I don't think these 4 gems are the optimal links. This is just what I had and I didn't want to mess around with it. Putting Ellie damage in might be like 5% more damage than added cold damage, but I kind of just wanted to get through the playthrough, so I just stuck with those links. So this is the tree when I crit swapped just after Eater Exarch. I did get slightly better gear after this, but all I did was swap my quiver and my bow, and you can see, I mean, let's take the flask off just to be fair. So where we were 91,000, we're now 150,000. That's, you know, about 50% more damage. All we've done is basically swap our bow out. So again, I've just rolled Ellie damage essences until I've hit decent Ellie DPS. So this is 600. And then I've just crafted crit chance. It's got no attack speed on it. Bow's fire and Dish Arrow does very little for Rain of Arrows because we have so many. The increased Ellie damage with attack skills is a nice bonus, but it doesn't do a huge amount. You're just looking for something around 600 Ellie DPS on a spine bow or ivory bow, and you craft crit on it. It feels a bit clunky because attack speed of 1.4 is pretty slow, but it still comfortably did tier 16 maps. I'm halfway through an Exarch rotation for the invitation. And then a quiver, I was just throwing crit multi essences at this until it's something decent. So this is crit chance, crit multi, little bit of damage of bows, and then crafted lightning damage to attacks. Nothing amazing in trade. I imagine both these items would be fairly cheap. And then, as I say, we haven't really changed anything else. We've not got any ETOR or Exarch mods on our gear. All the rest of the gear is the same. I did eventually anoint my amulet with some sort of cheap LE damage anoint because I had a few oils from a couple of blights that I did. But at this stage, I didn't have them. And this sheet DPS, if you can get this 150k, you're going to clear your Alice, no problem. And the crit tree, as I say, it's pretty much identical to Rain of Arrows. We're taking blind and extra crit chance against blinded enemies, projectile crit chance and crit multi, crit here, and then crit here. And then obviously we drop all the accuracy stuff, all these nodes up here, and obviously precise technique. And like I say, these nodes here, we could probably now drop. They're now 2.8 per point, so they're still worth it. But over time, as you get better gear, these nodes become worse and worse, and so do these ones here. And that's when you maybe look to go into a cluster jewel setup or something like that. And it's still on a 5 link. It's still the exact same 5 link. If you go to a 6 link, you just add crit damage in. So if we add crit damage, we can see here, boost it up massively. It goes from 150k to 200k. And this is when you start looking for your bow with attack speed as well. Maybe getting like, you know, a lethal pride or brutal restraint. Getting your gear ready to take on Uber and Maven, because it's definitely not going to do it in this state. But you'll be able to farm Alkengo red maps. You'll do whatever league mechanic you want, apart from maybe Legion. And it's going to feel super, super comfy. And then one last thing for me that I forgot to mention, it's quite important, I just forgot about it because I'm SSF, is when you hit level 78, you can equip a Perseverance belt. These are not expensive. They're a few chaos at league start. And what they do is they give you permanent onslaught. So you don't have to worry about onslaught and kill. So you can get rid of those nodes. And they also give you bonus damage based on whatever's lowest out of your evasion and armor. Now, obviously at this stage, you're not going to be stacking evasion and armor, but it's still a nice increase. So if we look at this Perseverance belt here and we just stick it on and we replace our heavy belt, our DPS goes up to 300,000. So bear in mind, my 5-link crit was 150k. You add a 6th link and a Perseverance belt with all this bad gear that I've got, and you double the DPS. And you are going to find this super, super comfortable. So Perseverance belt, 100%, I would say, is mandatory if you want the build to push much, much further on a cheap budget. And having permanent onslaught just feels much, much better for zooming through the maps. So those POBs will be in the description, but they are just very roughly fleshed out POBs, or ones that have just been directly taken from a point in time of this character. If there's no nerfs and horrible changes, this is 100% going to be my league start, so expect obviously a full guide with all the usual bump with it. So the only thing to quickly run through is how to proc adrenaline. So the way First to Strike, Last to Fall works is when you go below half-life, so when you reach low life essentially, adrenaline gets activated for 20 seconds and you recover 25% E-life instantly. You also remove any ailments or burning when you do that. So what you would do is you would have your Corrupting Fever, so that it takes over half your life. So this just takes over half of my life. To do that, I've had to link Life Tap and Swift Affliction, as these are mana multipliers. So if you had loads and loads of life, it would be Second Wind and Life Tap. So if we run Corrupting Fever on its own, it's only 520 life. So I'd literally have to keep proccing it, and it's got a tiny cooldown until I hit a half-life, and then I get my buff. If we just add in Swift Affliction, it goes to 728. If we add Life Tap, that's when it goes up to 2184. And all you'll do is just press your Corrupting Fever button, you get your 25% life back, and your adrenaline procs for 20 seconds. Another way you can do it is you can put it in a weapon swap, because the one issue I had is that I had no spare sockets to link something like Life Tap up to my mark on hit, so it was using my mana. And I also didn't have any guard skills because I had no socket spare. So what you can do is put them in a weapon swap and just make sure you don't have auras in your bow. Obviously, end game, your secondary damage setup is going to be in here, so it's not going to be an issue. And then all you'll do is you'll just weapon swap. I put Corrupting Fever on right click, and then you weapon swap back again. That's it. That's probably what I'll do. I'm just not used to it at the moment, and I thought it might lead to more deaths. What I wanted to do was put it on left click and move only, but you have to re-click, so it kind of defeats the purpose. So if we go back and wait for the buff to run out, and we start running around holding left click, if we weapon swap, it doesn't proc. And I've also tried doing it with out attack without moving, it still has the same thing. It just doesn't proc. So you have to click again. So I'd rather just have it on right click. And that's what I've been doing. I know there's other ways to proc it. So if you've got any genius ideas, let me know if there's any way to do it without gem sockets. I know some people do petrified blood, and then you sort of hover up and down your 50%. So it kind of procs on its own. But again, that takes reservation and it takes some tweaking and probably takes as many gem sockets. So at the moment, I'm just using it as a 3-link, but I think optimally, you'd have it on a weapon swap, and then that 3-link can be something like Molten Shell, cast when damage taken, and increased duration to give us even more defenses. But that's kind of it for the kind of run through of the guide. What I might as well do is just a full map showcase. As I say, I've recorded everything up to Eta and Exarch, so let me know if you want to see those as VODs on the channel. I'm happy to upload them. Now, remember, this is a character that's only, 16 hours into what is essentially a brand new league, so don't expect like fireworks. This map is also a Guardian map, and it's pretty horrendous. It's got crit chance, it's Eradicate, which is the lightning one, and it's got 70% increased AoE. So we may not even be able to do this, but I want to go and give you a realistic scenario of what it's like. We are not going to put Maven on it. You could, well, sod it, we'll put it on. It's a test anyway. So yeah, we may fail this one because the DPS is nothing to write home about, as you've seen from the POB. It's good enough for T60 maps, certainly, and good enough for the corrupted ones. But obviously, Elder Guardians and things are another level up. However, it's one of those things where it gets you a favourite slot. The fragment will sell. You might get an invitation drop from it, so it's always worth doing. Yes, you could roll it a bit easier than I've done, but the harder you roll it, the more chance you've got of getting decent loot off the back of it. So as long as we can 6 portal it, I'm fine with that. At this stage, at the at league start, I'm fine with that. It also means we can get stuff to drop from the map. If you run it white, yes, the boss will be easier, but you probably won't get any maps drop. You probably won't get any loot drop. This way, you've got a good chance of getting more out of the map. And early on in the league, things like red maps go for good money. Your fragments are definitely going to go for money. Invitations are always worth good money. So we're only going to be like, 95% spell suppression cap. So if it fails, Eradicator is definitely going to one-shot us with increased AoE. The more monster life is more what I'm worried about, because I don't know how quickly we're going to be able to get him down. But we'll give it a go. I don't like the way these are still proccing when he's going to die. So we've got all our flasks, so that's fine. I forgot to put Maven on as well. If she does the life regeneration, this fight's going to be horrendous, because this is easily the hardest Elder Guardian fight, without a doubt. The other 3 are just really, really easy. Like, our blisters don't do very much for damage, in all honesty. Yeah, she is healing him. Awesome. She loves healing him. We love Maven. I was giving him another one when he was just about to phase. Oh, he has phased. It's not actually as bad as I thought, but it's this phase. If we get the one with... Oh, yeah, we did get this one. This is going to be awful. Oh, don't want to go that way. Oh, we're stuck. Oh, that was close. Oh, Vitality being wonderful. So yeah, this is definitely the worst arena to get this dude in. Because we can't get close to him half the time, and with the Vitality boon, we are in a lot of trouble. Yeah, we're dead here, I think. So we haven't actually dented him at all, because every time Maven heals him, he goes away. So it's always fun, this one. Oh, luckily we just got Adrenaline proc. So if she heals him when he's, like, not there, he'll still get the health back, which is lovely. Yep, she just did it again. Now we can't actually get anywhere near him again. We'll go through this way. Right, we're just going to have to try and, like, risk a death, I think, here. Oh, no. We get, yeah, so this is almost impossible at the moment. Because I can't actually get anywhere near him. And she keeps healing him, then he'll disappear and she'll heal him again. He's gone again. Maybe we shouldn't have done this as a map showcase. Or at least pick mods. I mean, it's my fault. I could have re-rolled the map, but I wanted to give you a worst case scenario. Oh, he's nearly done. But now he's putting the lightning and stuff around again. So got to go in this way. Oh, did we get him? Yes, we did. Right, okay. Better late than never. Yeah, this is fun. And he's gone. But as you can see, Adrenaline actually saved us a couple of times where we were dying and it procs because it had run out. Where is he? Okay, so probably not the best one, but we did get the invitation, which is the reason we rolled it hard. Or I thought it was a better, that's why it is not. So yeah, even though that took ages, the map mods are horrible, we didn't actually die, which I'm very surprised about. So yeah, that's a map showcase. Worst case scenario, just completed your Atlas on gear that I wouldn't even think would be a divine. So that's it for the video. Thank you very much for watching. Take care and see you in the next one.